Hey, this is Doc Jones, and it's springtime in Idaho. So we're going to get this chamomile bed going. We'll talk a little bit about how we get the beds ready and what you need to do to have a great growing season with your chamomile. So it's apparently spring in Idaho. We got this big yellow thing up in the sky, and it's been really stingy for months and months. But today it almost feels like it's warm almost, you know. So we're kind of excited, and we've come out here to the beautiful brown homegrown herbalist herb beds to clean things up and get things ready. And we're just going to talk a little bit about chamomile. Okay. So this is the chamomile bed, and what do? First thing in the spring, you got to get things ready, and you have to understand that different plants need different things, right? And chamomile is a great example as a group because there's actually two species of chamomile that we use a lot in herbal medicine. One is Matricaria recutita, which is this little rascal, and the other is Chamomile nobile, which is Roman chamomile. So this is German chamomile, Matricaria recutita, and the other is Roman chamomile, the Chamomile nobile. And they work almost identically. I mean, the differences medicinally are minuscule, but they're very different plants. And the reason is principally that the German chamomile is an annual, and the Roman chamomile is a perennial. All right. So in case you don't remember 7th grade biology, annual plants are plants that every single year seed, flower, and die, seed, flower, and die, seed, flower, and die. So the plant you have this spring is not the same plant you had last spring, right? That guy's dead. And a perennial, of course, is a plant that comes up from the same root every year, like a tulip, right? You stick the bulb in the dirt, and every year the same tulip comes up. And so German chamomile is an annual, Roman is a perennial. So this bed, as we look at it, all of this material can just go away, right? Because it's just dead plants from last year. And so we're going to clear all of this out. But before we do, I just want to show you something, and that is this treasure trove of chamomile seeds, right? And so there's no reason in the world to worry about reseeding this bed. It has reseeded itself silly, right? And so, you know, you can harvest all the flowers and you'll never get all the flowers, and they're going to reseed, and every flower makes a bazillion little seeds. And so once you plant a German chamomile bed, you don't have to reseed it. It'll reseed itself. It's almost like having a perennial, right? But if you wanted to give some seeds to your neighbor, you can take these little heads, you know, late in the fall or earlier in the spring, and just grind them up between your fingers, and you have, you know, 1,000 chamomile seeds. And so those seeds can be collected in the fall, which is probably ideal. Or if you're too busy and don't remember, you can collect them in the spring. And I have it on good authority. There's a famous gardener. I don't remember where he lives. It's far away up in heaven somewhere. And every spring, he plants seeds that have been sitting in the winter all winter. Sitting in the snow, getting rained on, being in the muck. And you know what? Those seeds work pretty dang good. He's been doing it that way for a long time. So I don't worry too much about a fall seed versus a spring seed. You know, in a perfect world, you'd collect them in the fall and keep them dry all winter, and that's great. But if you got seeds in the spring, chances are they're going to grow, especially with herbs, because most of our herbs are actually pernicious weeds, right? And so they're pretty good at germinating. So let's talk a little bit about chamomile just in general. And why would you have one versus the other, right? Well, we planted this German chamomile bed, and we also planted a Roman chamomile bed. And like I said, the medicinal properties are virtually identical. So why would we have both? Well, for one reason is, you know, we do herb walks and teaching and stuff, so it's nice for folks to see both. The other reason is that this is a new facility. We just moved into this a year or so ago, and we wanted chamomile last year, right? We wanted chamomile the year we planted it, and you won't get that with the Roman. All right, the Roman chamomile, the first year, it comes up great and it's solid, and it'll make a handful of flowers, but nothing near like you would need to harvest it and have it be worth doing. You know what I mean? And so, you know, this year, last year rather, we planted this in the spring, and in the fall, I mean in the summer, the whole thing would just stack to the roof with chamomile flowers. I mean, the German annual made so many flowers that we had a really great harvest. So we have German chamomile beds and we have Roman chamomile beds. And the question is, why the heck would we have both, right? Because I said just a minute ago that the medicinal properties are virtually identical. I mean, I use them interchangeably. And so why would you do both? Well, the reason is that this is a fairly new facility, okay? And we wanted chamomile flowers the year we planted the chamomile, all right? And the German will do that and the Roman won't, right? So the Roman's a perennial, and the first year it comes up and it's beautiful and it's happy and it's great, and it makes about 5 flowers. The second year, it blooms its brains out and it's great forever after that. But the German, the first year, it's an annual. You know, this is the whole show. And so it's gonna do the whole thing the first year, right? It's all in. And so we wanted a good chamomile harvest. We use a ton of chamomile in our formulas. And so we put in some German because, like I said, this is a fairly new facility. We've only been here for a year, so we needed chamomile right now. We planted the German, and up it came, and we had a great harvest. This year, the Roman will have a great harvest, right? Even though last year it was sort of piddling around with flowers. So, like I say, you can use either one. There's no advantage from a propagation standpoint for the perennial versus the annual, because this annual bed will self-seed itself like crazy. Right? You'll never have to plant chamomile in this bed again. It'll seed itself like crazy. And so that's not an issue. The only advantage in my mind to the Roman is that it blooms longer. Okay? The annual, the German chamomile, Matricaria recutita, tends to do a big bloom and it blooms for a little while and then it's done, right? Like an annual. The Roman, by contrast, once it starts blooming, it blooms for the whole season. And so you get, in my opinion, you get a little bit more consistent availability of the flowers off the Roman for a longer period of time than you do off the German. But like I said, they're both great. They both make a ton of flowers. And they both have very similar properties. One other very subtle difference between the two is the German chamomile is slightly less safe in pregnancy than the Roman. In early pregnancies, it can cause some miscarriages sometimes, rarely, almost never. I mean, midwives use it all the time. I don't. Why? Well, because there's a lot of other plants that do the same thing that don't have that risk of 1 in a million, right? So why do it? I also don't use any chamomile early in pregnancy because I don't know which chamomile the person I'm talking to has in their cupboard. You know, is it the German or is it the Roman? And so I don't recommend chamomile during pregnancy, certainly not during early pregnancy. You know, other than that, what does it do? Well, it has a lot of great properties. It's a calming nervine, okay, so it calms nerves. It's very good topically for pain, as a tincture for some kinds of pain, nerve pain principally. It's also calming and sedating internally, so it's good for insomnia. It's good for, you know, stress and anxiety, things like that. It's phenomenally active on the nerves of the gut, and so it's very good for, you know, diarrhea, for colic, for bellyache stuff. Chamomile is very soothing to the GI tract. One of my first grabs for anything wrong with the gut. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to clean this all out, right down to the dirt. There's going to be plenty of seed there. We don't have to think about anything. So on an annual bed of chamomile, we'll clean it all out. We won't replant it. And in a couple of weeks, it'll be full of chamomile again. Okay. On the Roman bed, what we'll do is we'll cut off all the dead stuff down to the dirt, right? But we won't disturb those roots because that's where the plants are going to come from next year. So German chamomile, Roman chamomile, both of them are great. Take your pick and you'll be happy either way. This is Doc Jones from the Homegrown Herbalist School of Botanical Medicine, and I hope you have a great spin. If you enjoyed the video, we'd appreciate it if you'd like. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you thinking? Push that button and let's get you on the list so that you can learn all about herbal medicine for free. It's fun. And so also swing by the website, homegrownherbalist.net. We'd love to help you with all of your herbal medicine needs. Thanks much.